But Tuesday night is this night they call, I'm not even going to mention the name, but now most of you in this place, you're the choir, you know all about this. But some of you watching, you don't know, and you need to go tear down those stupid things you got hanging in your yard and the ghost hanging from your whatever. Get rid of that stuff, because here's the truth about it. And I didn't come up with this stuff. We've known it. We knew about it when we were 100 years ago. Well, not that many years, but we knew about it a long time ago. And this guy, David Taylor, he was a pastor of the Storehouse Church in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I was in Columbia. And anyway, I've kept his stuff all this long. So anyway, here's something you need to know if you didn't know it. 300 years before Jesus, there was a people called the Celtics. It looks like Celtics. They were not the Boston Celtics. These were Satanists. They lived in the British Isles. And the Celtics, well, actually, they were controlled by the Satanists, a secret society called the Druids. Sounds like America. Anyway, I won't go there. The Druids were Satanists. They worshiped the demon god of death. Samhain was his name. How many of you know all this? Some of you need a refresher. So they had this on October 31st. It was a celebration of, we know, the beginning of what would be a darker season on the earth, the beginning of dark days, or darker, the end of the harvest, but it was much more than that. They believed that on October 31st, the veil between heaven and earth was removed, and the witches and Satanists could have a better chance of getting in touch with the dead and, crossing into that dimension, inviting that dimension of darkness and death and the satanic realm on the earth. Samhain was that celebration. It was a festival of death. There was a punishment. If you didn't celebrate this festival, then you could be killed because you didn't participate. On the eve of the Celtic New Year, they would celebrate this, Now, how many of you remember Anton LaVey? That's how you know how old you are. You young guys have never heard. Who is Anton LaVey? Well, we were told when we were growing up that he was the head of the Church of Satan. You guys, yeah. In America. Do you know we have a Church of Satan in America? There's more members than you think. There may be some in this room right now. We don't know. They've hidden themselves. But anyway, they believe there are 3 important days for Satanists. Your birthday, April 30th, and October 31st. It's like the high day of the Church of Satan. The Druid priests would go from house to house to demand food so they could offer it to Satan at that festival of death. If you didn't give food when they visited your house, then they would pronounce a curse on your house. And the tradition is somebody would die during that year. We don't care about tradition. We do know that there were curses. Now, you know how they got around, how they got around through the streets. They had these big turnips, and they'd put a candle in the turnip. And it was their lantern. And they'd go from house to house. And they believed a demon spirit, a familiar spirit, lived in that turnip. Okay, so when they get to America, there's no turnips that big, so what do? They used pumpkins. They called the guy over in Scandinavia and British Isles Jock. When he got to America, they called him Jack. Jack in the lantern was the demon that guided. And so you get trick or treat, jack-o'-lantern. And anyway, the Pope, because they made people believe, well, no, they didn't make them believe in Jesus. They just made them join the church somewhere around the 9th century. So they brought all these pagan practices into the church. So the Pope tried to rectify it by calling November 1st All Saints' Day. So October 31st was All Hallowed, the saints, All Hallows Eve. It became Halloween. Anyway, it's got a dark, deep, demonic history. Are we supposed to participate with that which is dark and demonic, satanic? a festival of death. That's why you see in some people's yards these goblins, and boy, they're making some scary things. We just walked through Lowe's the other day, and somebody spoke to me. Who was that? It's a gigantic demon. I rebuke you, you demon, in the name of Jesus. Anyway, it's got my attention. Anyway, there's a whole lot more. But Doreen Irving, the ruling witch of the British Isles, she was a mistress of the high priest of the Church of Satan. She was born again, forgiven, and I don't know if she's still alive. This was 20 years ago. She said if Christian parents had any idea what happens to children on October 31st all over the world, you wouldn't even mention that name of that day to your children. And you know we're to come out and be separate. Folks, you know, now you guys are innocent. I'm sure none of you participate. But you can't drink of the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You can't fellowship. You got to come out. You got to be separate. You're going to have to draw the line sooner or later. If you can't just take care of this little simple October 31st, what are you going to do when the beast system really shows up? Because it's showing up right now, big time. And so we got to be ready.